It's a pet's life with Gym Dog, Ireland's first pet resort by Des the Vet. Managed by vets, loved by pets. Daycare, vet care, premium pet food and grooming. Visit at petslife.ie.
There's KFM and Vet and their pets. It's a pet's life, and that's exactly what it is. Talking about their animals, and not alone that, talking about vaccinations today, Des.
Hiya, John. Yeah, we did a little bit of research on the topic recently. I thought we'd discuss it on the show because it's very topical. The whole subject of animal vaccinations, and the reason why it's so topical is because more and more customers coming in and out to us have questions about vaccinations, having had vaccines themselves recently and having read up about vaccination and experiencing the side effects of vaccinations and the ups and downs of it and all the rest of it. Now they're coming into us with more questions about the animal vaccinations. So it's worth just talking about what we know and what we don't know in regard to animal vaccinations and why we do it and what we vaccinate against.
Okay, and I think that's where we start. Vaccinations, not vaccinations. In animal land, is it the same discussion between... It's not really, is it? Most people will go for it, will they?
No, most people will go for it. Okay, and they should. The prevalence of really harmful vaccinations in the animal kingdom is much wider, okay? You're far less likely to pick up a fatal disease getting on the bus if you're unvaccinated than your dog would be going into the park if he's unvaccinated. So the unvaccinated dog out and about going into parks is at way more risk of catching something awful than us humans are living in the modern world.
Okay, so the benefits. Let's talk about the real benefits. We're in the 21st century now. It's not just a case of one jab and away you go. Benefits.
Okay, the benefits are that there are about 5 or 6 really serious and very presentable, very preventable diseases in dogs and cats that are still out there. The first one is distemper. Distemper is an old-fashioned virus, an old-fashioned name. Everyone's heard of it. It's a fatal disease, causes a type of dysentery in dogs. It's awful. Then you have hepatitis. There's a viral hepatitis, which is still very common, caused by an adenovirus. Then there's a para-influenza, which is a really nasty cough, which is still out there, right? And then the other one that people have heard of, I'd say, it's very, very common, particularly in built-up areas, parvovirus.
I've heard of that,
Yeah, and there's 2 more. Leptospirosis, right? The human, that causes a type of jaundice. Right, the human version of that is Weil's disease, spelled with a W, W-E-I-L-S. Weil's disease. Everyone's heard of Weil's disease. Humans still die of it in developing countries, and humans even in Ireland still get Weil's disease. Well, that particular disease is really common in dogs and cats. And the reason why is because it's carried by rats and mice.
So when they're out and about foraging, hanging around, especially cats or something, they're going hunting for rats and mice and stuff like that. If they're not vaccinated, they get something that's infected, they're in trouble.
Yeah, and there's no question about it. It's not random. It's not unlucky. Weil's disease, or lepto, as we call it, it's out there. It's really common. And we vaccinate against it every year. So there's one, the last one then. The last one is canine cough.
I heard
now
of this
that's still called kennel cough, and I don't like calling it kennel cough, and I want to just put it out there. It should be just called canine cough. The reason why is because it's very common. It's caused by a little combination of 3 different bugs, and it's out there, and they'll pick it up just touching noses in the park. So canine cough. Now those 8 diseases are all vaccinated against in what we call an 8 in 1, right? Now that's done at puppy stage with 2 shots.
Okay.
And then once a year thereafter.
Okay, well that makes sense as well. So you start off, so from the time you get your animal, usually a lot of people now, if depending on how old the animals are, they could already be vaccinated, could they?
Yeah, they should be already vaccinated, okay. They should have already had 2, the foundation shots. We talked about buying puppies and finding puppies on the show last week and the week before. Puppies should be vaccinated by the breeder. They shouldn't leave their family of origin without 2 shots, and that gives them about an 80% level of protection. And then the new owners taking on board this probably 12 weeks-ish puppy, they should bring it to their own vet for the last shot, for the top-up.
Yeah, and usually if you're getting a dog from a rescue centre or a pound or whatever the case, are they normally vaccinated at that point?
Yeah, they are. Especially now, pounds and shelters don't have so many very young puppies, and they don't let them out very young. So you're taking on probably a slightly older animal out of a pound or a shelter, it should be vaccinated. You'll probably be given a certificate to tell you what shots it had. Bring that to your vet. Your vet will confirm, yeah, he needs a top-up next year on such and such a date, and we'll send you a text and remind you.
And what about, say, the likes of animals that are found that are brought to them?
Yeah.
Would they automatically get a small booster or something?
They will. Strays generally get a top-up just in case, because unfortunately we find that if an animal has had a bad start in life or comes from a slightly neglected environment, they mightn't have had enough vaccinations or had any. So they'll always be topped up by the vets working for the shelters or with the shelters.
Yeah, what's the typical cost of a vaccination these days?
The puppy course is going to cost you around €100 altogether, because there's 2 or 3 visits depending on how the vets choose to space it out. So the puppy course is around €100, and then the top up every year, the booster as we call it, which generally includes a checkup, that'll be between 50 and 80, depending on if they're doing the canine cough vaccination at the same time.
Okay, I just want to quote something to you. For the European Commission's Animal Health Strategy from 2007 to 2013 launched the motto, prevention is better than cure, and the approach has been widely accepted across Europe, and particularly these are in Ireland as well, by veterinarians, farmers and animal health industry over the years, that it's vitally important that we vaccinate our animals.
Yeah, that's very good. So that's tied in with what they call at the EU level, this idea of the One Health Initiative.
Yes.
Now, the One Health Initiative is a cooperation between research scientists, doctors and vets for the purpose of disease prevention, and for the purpose of preventing antibiotic resistance, and for the purpose of preventing viruses spreading from animals to people and backwards and forwards between different species. So diseases that spread between species, here's a word for you now, John.
Yeah, go
listeners, on. The word is zoonosis.
Zoonosis. Right.
Yeah, a zoonosis is a disease that you can catch from an animal, or that can mutate and spread from an animal to a human, and vice versa.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to touch on it briefly, only because I just see a comment coming in regarding, within the farming community, and from that end of things, and maybe with the other hat on, not just domestic animals. What about vaccination there?
There's a range of 7 or 8 different diseases that farmers vaccinate cattle and pigs against.
Yeah.
Some of the viruses I've already mentioned there, parvovirus, distemper and so on, they have an equivalent, a mutated form in the farm animals. So farm animals are really well vaccinated nowadays.
I suppose they have to be too, don't they? Because of all the different things that could go wrong.
They do.
And
There's a series of bugs there, for instance, in sheep called Pasteurella, and there's 7 or 8 different types of Pasteurella, and they're vaccinated against. And there's another one called Clostridia, which tetanus is one of those, and they're all vaccinated against as well.
Okay, Gloria was on. She's from Kilcock. She says she has a 3-year-old golden cocker spaniel who got vaccinated, we believe, from day one. We adopted her from the age of 6 months onwards. Should we be going to the vets now and maybe getting top-ups?
Yeah, she should be, unless they live in a very isolated environment and the dog never meets anybody. Yeah. Never goes anywhere. It's impossible to keep that dog safe from contact with those diseases without vaccination. As I say, it's not an unlucky thing. These bugs are out there. They're in dirty water. They're in ditches. Rats and birds and mice and all the rest of it do carry some of these diseases. So you should be having your dog vaccinated every year, because the 8-in-1 booster covers you against 3 of the nasty bacteria and 5 of the nasty viruses.
Wow. Yeah, very good.
They're out there, those bugs. And then
is there a time of the year that you do vaccinations?
No, because puppies are born on a 12-month cycle.
Yeah,
they're born any time of the year.
It's within that.
So it's whenever they get their shot. Whenever they get their shot as a puppy, it'll be due again 12 months later.
Yeah. Do you find that there's good follow-up? People will go off and get their vaccinations on dogs and cats and subsequently maybe tail back after that?
Yeah, there's a very good follow-up in the first few years, and then they forget and it tails off. And that's a pity, because it's older animals that will get the canine cough and will get lepto. So if you tail off and you don't keep it up, even to some extent, the risk of them getting the lepto in older life, or getting the canine cough in older life, is still there.
Does the microchips store that type of information?
No, unfortunately. The animal microchip is quite crude in the sense that it just identifies the animal. Yeah. It's a barcode that's unique to the animal. It stores up the identity of the animal, what his name is and who owns him. There's no medical record, database, history, anything like that attached to it.
Is that something that will happen further down the road for the likes of vaccinations?
Yeah, I'd say so. Depending on how cheap, I suppose, that technology becomes. At the moment, it's just literally a barcode, like the supermarket barcode, like the barcode on a packet of, on a tin of beans in the. It's, oh yeah. It's that basic. But at some stage there might be a microchip attached to the barcode.
But you know what? I'm a great believer in the microchipping, and when the idea of it, and the fact that, you know, for one reason or another, regardless of the animal that you have, it's those who seem to have them vaccinated are the ones that are very grateful with certain incidents could happen with their dog or cat's life. Yeah,
the barcode is the microchipping is really important to have the barcode. Sadly, yesterday a little Yorkie that was hit by a car and was killed instantly arrived into us. Little Yorkie called Ruby, and we were able to trace her owners and give her owners the bad news.
Right.
Which, you know, was an essential service, and an awful thing. Ruby got out and was hit and killed. Those people would never have known what happened to Ruby if Ruby wasn't microchipped. We were able to pass on that information back to the people.
Yeah, so look, it works both ways.
It works both ways. And look, at dogs come in alive and well and healthy every day of the week into vet clinics, and they're traced back to the owners.
Yeah.
And they get home again because of the chip.
Are cats vaccinated as much?
Cats are vaccinated as much. They definitely are. Cats are vaccinated.
And
domesticated cats. No, sadly, not microchipped as often enough.
Yeah, no.
Now, you were saying earlier your own poor cat still hasn't found his way home after being missing for a week.
Yeah.
He's probably microchipped, is he?
I don't know. I don't think so, to be honest with you. But I know he was in the vet a couple of times. We probably said, well, the next time he's in, we'll get him done. I don't know. I mean, look, I don't think he was.
Cats go missing all the time.
They do, yeah.
And if they're chipped, they can be traced back to people at least.
Yeah, but that's providing really in real terms that he's injured or something. Because the only way you're going to get to a cat is if he's injured or somebody finds him and brings him in. Yeah, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, anybody see a black cat out there?
No, we were saying before as well. This is an absolute fact. Cats are slightly wilder and more independent.
Yeah,
more resilient than dogs. So when they get lost, they fend for themselves and they survive on their own steam in the wild. Yeah. Much better than a dog does.
Yeah. You do see it, because even when there's strays around that go from house to house, they'll wander in, they'll find a bit of food somewhere, or they'll move around, or they'll nick at somebody else's cat's bowl where it's in the back garden or wherever else, and they'll move. But they could travel within a state. I was reading up on it. They could move anywhere, really.
They do go long distances. You hear them being found in different countries and everything. Yeah.
Tom, we're being optimistic there, boyo.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Off we go to a question. Okay, Saoirse was on. She said that she got her dog vaccinated about 6 weeks ago back. Had a little bit of a turn, brought him back to the vet. She said just give it a little bit of time. Is it such a thing that dogs or cats can be allergic to vaccinations?
No, they just get knocked for 6 if it does its job. Remember when I got my first COVID jab, I was knocked for 6. I felt like I had a dose for 2 days. So vaccinations produce an antibody response to give you immunity against the disease that you're being vaccinated against. And the only way that antibody response is effective in protecting you against the disease is if it gives your body a little bit of a shock, a little bit of an insult. Yeah. So it's normal for an animal or a person to be a little bit out of sorts and possibly even run a slight fever and be even slightly off their food for a day or a half a day after getting the shot.
Okay, fair enough. Off we go to another question, and it's from James, who's listening to us in Naas. He says that he's got 2 black and white doggies. He says that they got from rescue pounds. They presume that they were vaccinated. We're told they're about 1.5 years old each, from separate families, separate types. We invested a bit of time into them. They've been absolutely terrific. We got all the vaccinations and the boosters and everything done, and it's peace of mind. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, very good. And have them back for their annual checkups and keep on top of it. In line with that motto from the EU Health Organisation, prevention is better than cure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is. It's very much so. Okay, got where's it gone? There we go. Got a nice little doggy. He's was rescued as well. Another rescue question. Rescued again quite recently. We brought him over to our grannies, says Dave there, and he subsequently wants to know, is there any other stuff that we need to do regarding vaccinations or separate injections besides the vaccinations?
Well, the vaccinations, as regards, first of all, the first thing that springs to mind to me is worming. So I'll chat about that for a second.
Yeah.
Whether it's a dog or a cat, I recommend 6 times a year deworming.
Okay.
Yeah. If they're rooting about with the nose on the ground and exploring the world and living their best lives, they will pick up worms.
What are the symptoms?
An itchy bum. That's the best symptom to describe.
Lift the tail up and have a look.
Yeah, that's the best symptom to describe, right? Hookworm and tapeworm and all the rest of it.
Just go to
dogs
your vet,
or cats, go into your vet. They can be bought over the counter. But the best place to go is to your vets, because you'll have a vet nurse there or a qualified receptionist, veterinary receptionist, and the first question they'll ask you is, what breed is your dog and what weight is your dog? So they'll give you the appropriate dosage for the size and weight of the dog, and what age is he, and when was he last dewormed, and do you know which one you gave the last time? So they're all the questions we ask, because what we do is we vary it. We give a different brand, we give a different product seasonally, and to prevent resistance, we change the wormers around regularly.
Okay, well, but that's important as well, isn't it?
It is.
It is. When it comes to those type of things, especially when it comes to worming and general health of animals, it is.
There are great products nowadays, John, in spot-on form, where you don't even have to struggle to give the tablet. There's a wormer combo, worm and flea and tick, in a spot-on combination treatment available from the vets.
And coincidentally enough, that was my next question. It was to do with the tick. How do you know if your animals have tick, and where are they found?
Ticks can attach anywhere.
The neck area, is it really?
Yeah, neck or limbs, shoulders, lower body. Dogs and cats usually pick them up in long grass, and they're about the size of a bean or a sweet corn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they look a bit like that. Right,
okay, fair enough. Easy to remove?
You shouldn't try and remove one yourself. Get someone who knows what they're doing, a dog groomer, a vet nurse or a vet, to remove them, because what will happen is you'll break it off and you'll unfortunately leave half the tick attached to the skin, and it'll cause an infection.
Okay.
So rather than trying to take it off, the best thing for you to do is go and get a treatment which will kill the tick, and then the tick will most likely fall off.
Okay, so that's the best way of doing it.
It is.
So are you saying initially, if you do see ticks or you think there's ticks, you bring it to, as you said, a groomer, or down to the nurse in a veterinary clinic?
And you get the treatment, which is in a spot-on form
which
nowadays.
They do themselves, or will they show you how to do it?
They'll show you how to do it.
Yeah.
You can give it at home. It's a spot-on that just put on the back of the neck. Usually costs between 12 and 18 euros for the good ones. And they are tick and flea combos, and there's a tick and flea and worm all in one combo, where you just put the chemical on the back of the neck, it soaks in, it'll kill any parasites, internal or external, and if there are any ticks or fleas there, they'll die and fall off.
Okay. Kevin from Nace was on. He wants to know, he said his dog got his tail cut in the door. We don't think it's broken, but he's certainly in a lot of pain. Do we just bring him down to the vet, or do we let nature take its course, or whatever?
No, that can be dangerous enough. I've seen dogs lose their tails from injuries like that.
If they're not looked after, yeah.
Yeah, if they're not looked after, because a serious bang across the blood supply and nerve supply halfway down the tail can cause gangrene.
Oh, okay, right, fair enough. Okay,
actually, tail necrosis or gangrene can occur in severe cases.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if that dog looks like he's in discomfort and pain, and he's turning around and licking it and trying to bite out his tail and all the rest of it, the chances are the injury is serious enough there, and it might need an antibiotic.
Okay, very good. Okay, on that note, we'll park it there for today, Des. Thanks as always.
Lovely, John, thanks.
Can check out Des's place down in Kildare. Give the details out there, Des.
At petslife.ie, Kildare Vet Surgery, for your doggy daycare or veterinary services. Thank you.
Well done. Good man yourself. And Des back again next week.
It's a Pet's Life with Jim Dog, Ireland's first pet resort by Des the Vet. Managed by vets, loved by pets. Daycare, vet care, premium pet food and grooming. Visit at petslife.ie.